go.
Deicide.
Hello and welcome to Deicide. I'm your host, deamonmachine. Today, I'm joined by Ponpon, Mesmerize.
Hi, guys.
Kale will be joining us shortly as soon as he finishes his ranked game, and then Wagner Warrior, who will be telling us all about his latest experiences in the mid lane, which if you ever saw that Rosterian post where it had the picture of mid lane just kind of there, and then a big red circle and an X across it, because you shouldn't go anywhere in the mid lane if you want to stay alive. So we'll be covering all that very shortly. So what we want to start off with is the previous tournament winners, as it says in the top of the chat here. Here's where it'll get all sorts of exciting, because they should have been updated. Yes, they were updated properly. Over on the North American side, we had Snipe Gaming take first place over Team Dignitas. Reason Gaming taking third over... I forgot who they took third over. Can't remember. Anyway, so they took third. Over on the right side, we have Denial EU, who came in first due to a disqualification in the third game from Bipolar Method in a very large and long, interesting series of instances that were just complicated and annoying. And then Six Sigma beat out E-Lemon for third place, which is kind of a shocking turn of events. Usually E-Lemon's been performing admirably, and they just managed to drop the ball this weekend. So we'll have to see if they can pick it back up again this coming week. So, do you guys have any notes on this past weekend? Like, one of the things we wanted to talk about, of course, was the double jungling. Or, I guess, jungling with a helper.
Yes.
Yes.
That allows you to do some pretty ridiculous stuff.
It does.
Like jungle areas, you can get
Jungle
away with
areas.
double jungle.
We did jungle areas. I was raw and I was following around and helping him clear camps, and it turned out to work pretty well. Which it shouldn't. It just
Yeah.
I mean, how does it
Imagine
work
had
like
I
that?
been a Hoonbots.
Is it just the Bumba's Mask that gives you that over amount of experience that you get from clearing the jungle camps and sharing them with your partners, so you
Yeah.
get the same, or you don't lose that much experience by sharing the jungle with a second person?
Well, you get full experience as if they weren't there.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So
and then
you
they
can
get it
boost
like,
levels.
and they get it like they're solo or like they're kind of double jungling.
What is it? You get like 66% if you're following the jungle around?
Yeah, you get something like 66. But like that's generally enough to keep you, especially early on, even or like one level behind your jungler. And so you can
I was
actually
still
do some
ahead of
crazy
their
stuff.
entire team, so.
And it also speeds up the clears so that like you can get to camps faster, so that kind of also makes up the deficit.
Mm-hmm.
We ganked at like level 3, wasn't it? Got a kill pretty easy.
Do you have to counter jungle in order to stay up in levels as a double roaming jungler?
You can. It depends on what your comp is.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I was Bakasura doubling jungling with someone, then yeah, I would totally invade because I would do that anyway.
I don't
if
think
I'm-
we counter jungle, did we?
Yeah, we pretty much just got away with like we picked a jungler that was really good at ganking, which is Ares, because if you land a chain, that person's dead, and that worked out okay. So it just depends on what your jungler is.
It was mean.
Yeah. What about what counters would there be to a double jungler? Like when you have the two on one in one lane, one on one in the other lane, does the single lane have to work really hard to try and get a kill? Or, I mean, they're probably going to be prepared with a solo laner who can handle himself all right, like an Odin or a Guan, something that's really hard to pick off. So, how do you fight this? Do you just go with your own 2-1 or 1-1-1 lane and then 2 in the jungle?
You don't fight it, because even though you do clear faster, even though Bumba's allows you to split experience, eventually you will fall behind in levels, especially if ganks don't happen. And so the answer is to don't die. Because if that happens, or you do some really good invading where they're trying to take like the right jungle and you invade and start on their left jungle, and then they're caught off guard by that, you can deny them some early levels and deny their early gank potential. That would be probably the most effective way at crippling that style of roaming. But it's rough because right now, especially with how like small the lanes are, it's really easy for two people to come out of the jungle suddenly and just kill someone.
Yeah.
Especially early on.
Especially the single laner where it's suddenly a 3-on-1.
Mm-hmm.
So
The fog's kind of weird too.
Would running the 2-1-2 combination be a better way of doing it, and making sure you guys clear all your buffs before you start, and then move out to the lanes, be really heavy on those guys to where you have to force out the junglers?
There's still a solo lane to be ganked, which is mid. And it still would be 3-on-2 in a side lane. And the jungler with Bumbas would eventually just even if the game went even, the jungler is they could always toss that support back into the side lane.
Yeah.
And have the jungler farm, and then it's 1-1-2, which the 2-1-2 meta loses to.
Yeah.
So if you start 1-1-1 and 2 roamers, you could just always transition to 1-1-2 and be fine.
Mm-hmm. Do you have to catch it early enough, or is it just pretty much? I mean, I can get there after 3 minutes, even though we're slightly behind, and I'll catch back up in levels in lane.
You mean? How do you mean catch?
Say your Athena's jungling with you as your support, and you're like, well, we need you over in left lane. I guess she'll pretty much be the similar levels unless your jungler got killed, or she couldn't clear out the
Yeah, she would be
jungles.
pretty similar.
So it wouldn't be too hard to shift out of the 2 jungling role. Into
Yeah,
it
wasn't.
It could actually potentially be stronger to if you're doing 1-1-2 to start double roam anyway. Start double roam, farm up the jungle, go for your gank, and if that gank fails, fall back on 1-1-2. Because at that point, the jungler's probably level 4 to 5, and most strong junglers right now can clear the jungle alone fast enough anyway.
Yeah.
So they don't really need support.
I think when we were doing our double jungle, I pretty much only followed you to do the big buff camps, and then went back into different lanes.
Yeah,
Wasn't that
because it could be very useful to do that, because then you could help out different lanes, or even just go in mid and help them out.
Yeah. Oh, and we both had hand, so jungle claims were getting cleared pretty fast.
I was gonna say when you do this double jungling role, what do you put on the various characters? What do you put on the jungler? What do you put on the support one?
Jungler will do Bumbas, Boots 1, 2 potions. The support will do hand. And I mean, that's pretty standard anyway, because you're going to want your support with hand for the late game Gold Fury and Fire Giant.
Do you want to give level 3 hand, or right off the bat? Or
Oh, God, no.
Okay, so you start with level 1 hand.
It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Yeah,
it doesn't do any more damage. The only thing it provides bonuses for lasting Gold Fury and Fire Giant, or a stun. And the stun could make for some interesting things, but you probably don't want to do that, because that would be spending 1,100 gold to potentially get a 300 gold kill.
Yeah. So Flair would ask this question: are we always assuming 1-1-2? Meaning, I mean, some people like to put the duo lane on the Gold Fury side to help with any early Gold Fury attempts.
Yeah, when I say 1-1-2, it's interchangeable what side that goes on.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people are running where the duo lane is on the Gold Fury side facing the enemy duo lane, if they're running 1-1-2.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some teams that just say screw that and ignore it, because generally, I mean, it's going to be very hard for in League, and the strategy comes from League, where you have solo top, solo mid, 2 bottom, and the reason you have 2 bottom is dragons on bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very easy for a jungler and your 2 side lanes to just sneak up into the Fog of War, take that or that dragon, or potentially after a gank on bottom, take that, and it's really hard to contest, because dragon doesn't do that much, and dragon dies pretty quickly early on. Gold Fury dies pretty quickly early on, hurts, and it's very easy for someone to pop in and kill someone or kill 2 people and have the entire fight ruined. And so why there's merit to the 2 people on Gold Fury side, it doesn't have the same weight as it does in League, where that strategy comes from.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I mean that's where.
But the side lane is interchangeable. Where you throw them. It's mainly what better matchup do you have.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm talking a lot.
No, it's fine.
That's what we want.
That's what we're looking
I
for.
haven't said a word yet.
So
Yeah, what's your opinion, Wagner?
Wagner, what's your opinion? And then, I mean, you're mostly been playing a lot of mid lane lately, right? With DM?
Yeah, with DM, and he's been doing the double jungle a lot.
Okay.
And it's sort of it's a little bit of a difficult position for mid, because mid or when there was just a solo jungler, mid came and helped the jungler, but with the duo jungler, mid has to stay in mid and do more ganks, and it kind of puts you in a bad position if your jungler is ganking somewhere and then their double jungler ganks you, or just their jungler alone. So it's kind of difficult to, I guess, just be in the right position at all times.
Yeah. Generally, the jungler protected you in mid before, not so much with the double jungle.
So what do you do as mid now to make sure you're protected at all times, or safe at all times? Do you have to just stay near your tower and just wait until your
No.
jungler's nearby?
What I like to do is play or poke. I like to poke the enemy
Mhm.
and then hit the creep wave sort of thing. Poke him and hit the creep wave, and then fall back near my wards because I ward a lot. That's really important.
Mhm.
And then if your jungler is anywhere near or ganking or something like that, ganking a lane, you will want to come or near them and sort of help them with whatever they're doing.
Mhm.
Because jungler and mid right now, when well cooperated together, they can carry a team of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree. Well, any other questions about the double jungling? I mean, I'm sure we could go on about it all day.
I mean, however specific you want to get, you can start talking about like what the best duos are, and like
Yeah.
what duos offer like specific synergy with team comps.
So I guess the kind of overarching question amongst everything is, what do people think about this like new double jungle strategy? And do you think this is what hi-rez kind of had in the plan at all when they made it happen? And do you think it's killing the game in general? Because I've heard a lot of complaints of people saying, I hate this jungling thing, especially the two people jungling. It's just terrible. I mean, we didn't like one jungler, and now we have two. You know, it's turned into a fun game for the two people who are roaming around, but the other people that are sitting in lane, it's just a farm fest all day. You just sit there, poke, and hope that nobody comes and beats you into the dirt.
I think the biggest problem with it is that you can't really replicate it in casual queue. And what I mean by that is, like,
Yeah.
if you were to watch the tournament over the weekend and you saw the double jungle strategy and saw how good it was, how are you ever going to coordinate a solo queue to do that?
Yeah. You can never get them all on the same page to be like, be ready right when I come here, etc. And this is the way I roll. I'll be there at 3 minutes and 20 seconds, and I'll be over there at 7.5 minutes, and that kind of stuff.
And so you end up getting a pro meta and a casual meta, and it just makes this like really big divide between what pro games and team games are versus like the casual queue. And really, they should play similarly. It's just better coordinated on the pro side.
Mhm.
And so it feels like the optimal play right now, and the only optimal play, is double jungle roaming, but you can't coordinate that realistically.
Right.
And I think there's a lot of strategy and depth to it, and people who are just sitting in the lanes just farming, there's a lot to do. You can help the double junglers, you can invade, you can do a lot of things. There's a lot of things you can do, but you can't do it if you can't coordinate it, and it's rough. If you don't know how to coordinate, it turns into 3 solo farm lanes and this double jungle that just ganks.
Haha. There's KO.
Is KO here?
Fix the screen regions now that KO's here.
All right.
Yay,
While you fix
KO.
that, I'm gonna get some water.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
So KO, how are you? Can you hear us? And is your mic working?
Nah, it's not working.
He's got to select the proper microphone in the options at the top right where there's a little gear-looking thing. KO, you've gotten a haircut since last time you saw you, and you also dropped the green screen behind you, and you've gotten a lot darker in the room. How about you just focus
Got a
on one
back
thing at a
here.
time? Make the microphone work, and then we'll even not worry about the color or the lighting, because your
Yeah.
monitor will let you up okay.
I think he's muted.
He might be muted too. There's always that
Maybe.
option because Google Hangouts likes to mute people as soon as they join.
How's that? Is that better, guys?
Yay!
There you go.
Hey. Yeah, so this is my first time using this Google Hangouts thing, so
Yeah.
new experiment for me.
It's useful and confusing all at the same time.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mez,
Thanks.
for
Thanks.
that.
You're welcome.
So,
It's weird too because I'm switching between like your stream overlay and then like the Google Hangout, and it's confusing. But
yeah.
all right,
So we were
I'll
just
settle in.
talking about the double jungle meta. What do you think of it? What are your opinions? Do you like it? Do you hate it? Is it annoying? etc.
Well, I don't. I see where the advantage comes from on paper, and I know that the double jungle thing is a lot more popular with the European teams. Like SK runs it a lot, and it gives you a lot of trouble sometimes. But I feel like it's one of those things where it either pays off or it doesn't really work out so well. And if you take the right steps against double jungler, you can kind of they won't get enough gold out of their strategy. Like you just have to know where they're going. You have to get good reads on them. That's the main thing. But I did like as I came in, I kind of heard what Pon was saying, and I totally agree that it is like optimal in terms of like experience, and it's a good strategy. But it's like something that nobody will like know that. The groups that are just people playing with their friends or whatever. It's like a really abstract thing for them to just pick up out of nowhere. So
Yeah. You had to have seen it on the pro side of it or the really high level play to even understand it first, and then you have to try and implement it, and then you try and implement it when it's you and your friend and then 3 other random people, and it's like, we want to run a double jungle, and they're like, what? Why are you a moron? And so on and so forth.
A lot of the skill curve with Smite is like the mechanics are intuitive, but then the strategies are like really weird right now. The way the metas are like constantly changing and they're testing things out, and that is what pisses a lot of people off when it's just people playing with their friends, and then there's like a double jungler strat. That's the meta that's like super optimal, and lets them like steamroll people who aren't doing that, and those people are like, well, how am I supposed to know I'm supposed to do that, And I just think it's mechanically it's intuitive, but with all these weird strats that come out of the new metas, it's hard for new players.
It is. It can be quite frustrating for the casual queue, especially when they're trying to keep up with the people that are on that top. Wow. That was, like, I don't know why XSplit is freaking out, because ever since I updated it, Pon, has it been running better for you or worse?
I switched back to OBS.
Okay.
I just started using OBS.
I was getting 5 more frames with OBS, and so therefore I use OBS.
But like I updated
OBS,
XSplit, and ever since I've because I use it for what I do with my stream and stuff, I use it and OBS at the same time, and since I did the update, it just is freaking out, and I don't know. I guess I'm gonna have to try and downgrade it. I guess at some point, but it's just annoying as hell because it randomly flashes like red behind me or green or
mine
something.
will randomly drop the stream.
That too, or it'll make the whole screen flash, and it's driving me insane. And there's nothing I can do about it right now.
So I'm using OBS in the moment as well. Even though the wonderful Nub Salsa was happy enough to give me a free year of XSplit, I kind of don't want to use it.
So, okay, I do actually have a question because when you came in, you said that the way you kind of counter off 1-1 double roam is you eventually will outpace them in gold, because if you just don't die and you take steps to avoid that happening, you'll eventually start to outpace them, because you'll just be able to have better pressure as the game goes on longer and longer, because that support will fall further behind. I had talked earlier, and I'm thinking the way that 1-1-1 double roam will evolve is it'll be 1-1-1 double roam. A gank will happen, and depending on what happens off that gank, they will keep doing 1-1 roam, or they'll switch to 2-1-1 jungler. And I think if they switch back to 2-1-1 jungler, even like if the gank goes well, that would be like the most optimal thing they could do.
Yeah, because they get more that person that's going back to lane, that support is getting more experience that way.
So I think the teams that are running 1-1-1 double jungler that are falling behind are just sticking with it too long.
That's
a good point.
There's a point of diminishing returns basically on the double jungle.
If the support keeps on going back and forth between jungle and lane, they'll be a bit farther ahead than if they just stuck with the jungle the entire time.
So what about the person that they're taking that experience away from when they're dual laning with? I mean, you got the 2 solo laners that should keep getting solo experience, and then when you throw that jungler back into the lane, then they're having to split the experience again.
They'll be solo for like the first like 3 to 4 minutes of the game, because that's you're gonna see a gank happen at the 2 to 3 minute mark, and so they'll be solo until then. And the support will have gotten jungle experience, and the jungler will have gotten 100% experience, because that's how the jungle works. And so I think you'd end up actually seeing just that would be the way to get the most experience.
So, looking back upon it now, the whole thing in general, do they need to change Bombas to where you don't get 100% experience from the gold or from the jungle camps? I mean, if you're going to be double jungling it, you shouldn't be getting the same as if you were a solo, right? I mean, that would only make sense. I
I
would think.
kind of, this would probably be more controversial. I kind of would wish they made it so that the last hit gave all the experience, and not AOE based.
Okay.
And it would take a lot of strategy away from people roaming to the help. Like a good mid will roam over to me while I'm taking red buff, and not only does that provide protection in case someone tries to invade that red, but it also gives some bonus experience, and it takes that away. But it also would have more like impact on you wanting to get hand to make sure you secured that camp and didn't get stolen. And if someone walks in and steals it, like it's really punishing.
Yeah. So wait, currently, if the enemy steals it, you still get full experience even if they kill it after you hit it or start it?
No, they get experience, but like it's incentivizing people to roam in and just take the whole camp, and like you'll still get the side minions experience, which is some, but mainly it would just keep it so that like people would be able to double jungle and get experience off that.
Yeah, it's kind of
Okay.
cool that it should be in a position where like it can exist. It's not forced or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
you know, with every meta, I'm sure we'll see like variations of it because there's no really like clear cut like you have to do that. Like it can get really scary if you start succeeding with your two-man jungle, so to speak, and you start like bullying the other jungler, because that's what ends up happening. You know, when
Yeah.
you go to contest those like mid harpies or whatever, and if you're strong enough where you can bully their mid and jungler out of their
Mhm.
camps, you're really taking off. But
Yeah.
it doesn't always work out that well, you know. So I think it's kind of in an okay spot. It just needs some tweaking where it's not so much XP on both of them, as opposed to the lane.
I think really now that the cat's out of the bag in terms of that this is a strategy that's viable, we'll see next week what happens.
Yeah, well, we'll see for the people that play. And then
Yeah.
speaking of which, KO, you guys are going to be flying out to RTX tomorrow, right?
Yes, so excited.
Yes. So it's you guys and then Snipe Gaming and Dignitas are flying out to RTX, which is the Rooster Teeth Expo out in
Yeah.
where, Texas?
Austin, yep.
Austin, Texas. And you guys will be playing a bunch of games against each other?
Yeah, I actually don't like. I know a disappointing amount of detail on like the whole logistics of everything, but
Mhm.
yeah, we're gonna be doing like a show match set. It's not gonna be super like high pressure. I mean, we're more just going there to like have a good time, and it's gonna be really cool to meet everybody. And you know,
I would agree.
it's hi-rez is like amazing for doing this for us. I mean, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still sinking in that it's like tomorrow we're leaving, you know.
I get to go have fun and basically get paid to do it because we get prize money either way.
And Rooster Teeth is awesome. There's gonna be so much cool stuff there.
Yeah.
I wish I could go.
Need people to meet and like fun things to do. And we'll be there for like 2.5 days. So yes,
Yes.
we're excited to play Dignitas again.
And you guys get to meet everyone all in person too. That's going to be the most exciting part, I would say.
Yeah, you know what's funny is actually like Lass lives like 10 minutes away from me, Lassie's,
Yeah.
and so we're actually going there like the whole way and back. So
Oh, nice.
I'm looking forward to getting to know him.
That's
Hopefully he
something.
doesn't beat me up or
He's
put
a
me in a
cool guy.
headlock
I
or
don't think
something.
you have to worry about that.
How tall are you?
No, I know. 6 foot.
Okay,
6'1".
he's got like 3. He's like 6'4" or 6'3" or something like that. He's
Yeah.
large. He's pretty good.
He's a big
Just tell
boy.
him Mez will beat him up. It's all right.
Yeah, when I met him at PAX, it was like, oh, yeah, you're pretty tall.
Yeah.
Did you know that Alakite is 6 foot as well?
Really?
Yes,
I
he
didn't
looks
think so.
tiny. But when we met
Yeah.
him at PAX, I was like, wow, you're like a string bean. You're about this big around, but you're really tall. It was really cool. Anyway,
Yeah, I never got to meet him.
yeah, I never got to meet him yet. I did. It was fun. It was fun. So what should we move on to next? What do we have topic-wise that I wanted to bring up? Let's see. We talked about the double jungle meta, mid lane with Wagner. Pretty much we covered
Oh,
like
speaking of mid lane,
everything. in
what do you
that.
guys think about being able to grab that EXP through the wall? Should they keep that, or
Yes, because
Yes,
not
keep it.
only is that a signal for the junglers here,
yeah,
but
that's
man,
true.
are you out of position.
yeah? I just kind of wanted to hear some people's opinions on that because I like it.
I
So
think
you're
there's
out of
a
position if you're against the wall, is what you're saying?
yeah.
Okay.
You have to be kind of pushed far forward.
Yeah, you
Don't
have to
you
be
think-
basically in the middle of the lane, pushed up against that wall.
I thought you could get it
And-
in the bush right at the corner of your entrance, like on the right
Can
and
you?
left. Yeah.
If you can, then I'm sad because I
Yeah,
actually
I'll
like
test that.
this.
I'm pretty sure you can get it right at the corner. Like if where the bottom or whatever lane you're in, where the nearest entrance, you can like sit in that bush because there's like a wall and a wall, and then there's like a funny little bush. You can get in the bush, and then you can still get it. I think.
I mean, the only problem with it is if your mid lane knows that and the enemy mid lane doesn't know that, because like you have to just know that or not. It puts one mid lane way ahead of the other one, but I don't know. I think it actually forces the mid lane to go out of position to try and get that, and you can punish it because the jungler's actually going to be around there at the same time, likely.
Yeah, it adds some action, honestly, because mid lane pre this patch was like total snooze fest until until the reds came up, and then it was like, oh, everybody freak out. But it was only those like serious spikes of activity only on that like 4-minute cooldown, you know, and then it would be back to like mindless just farming, you know. So like now that they have these camps that are a relatively like short spawn, and you know, you're constantly like battling over it, and you have to, I mean, like, yeah, you can take it over the wall, but you know, especially versus like the double jungler meta, you know, you got to go around the wall and actually like contest it, and yeah, it's a big advantage. It's actually like really underestimated, like how much of a difference that makes to like get those every time.
Yeah.
The thing about Agni mid, though, which I think makes him really strong now, is he can easily just go and drop a meteor over that wall, and then that could help his jungler, because then he could walk away from it and still get the EXP, and it could also be used, since it does high damage, to steal the other junglers if you see their mid going near the wall.
And so, I mean, it's bringing that back to the casual thing. People don't understand, if they're running a double jungler in a casual queue, that if the mid laner is sitting next to the wall, he's going to be taking that experience, and it's not a very prevalent thing, so it can help. It'll still make that skill difference that much greater between the two teams when they have the 5-man queues where these guys are doing it perfectly, and the other 5-man queues who are just a bunch of friends who are like, yeah, let's play together, and they're just getting destroyed because they don't understand how to combat this whole, you know, double jungler, we're getting wrecked by 4 people in one lane every time.
Yeah,
And
I think part of it
team.
is like a new and growing game. You're always going to have people who get shaft. Well, like, you're always going to have that strat that's like super OP because the patches are very different and they change so much, and the internal testing can't really pick up like how strong these things are going to be, and then that patch, everybody gets upset because that thing like just destroys you if you don't do it. But I think that's gonna like we'll see less and less of that as they kind of find their sweet spot with what they want to do with the game.
Yeah, they've gotten better at balancing gods on like towards release, and they've gotten better at balancing like, oh, if we bring this item into the game, here's what's going to happen with it, and they've gotten better at that. But they're trying to do something completely new, which is add a new role to the game, and so they've had to adjust jungle mobs, they've had to adjust items, they've had to see like what happens, and it's definitely not easy to bring a new role into the game as an and it's even more unreal that they're trying to do it as an option.
Yeah. Like, you can run a jungle, you may not have to, and still, but everybody knows that it's like, well, if you want to get the maximum experience, you have to run this. Versus you'll be one level behind if you don't run that.
I honestly think hi-rez will never be able to make it so that a jungle is an option. I think it'll either be jungle is or jungle isn't.
Yeah.
And because eventually the optimal play will be found, and whatever the optimal play is will be what everyone runs. Even if it's ever so slightly more optimal.
Yeah, that's really like a tricky thing. I don't know how they would manage to make that like where both are
Equally,
completely viable.
I don't think they can.
No.
And I know, and this goes back to League of Legends when they were, because I was playing League of Legends really early on. For a long time, they never wanted a role to exist. They never wanted to define things as roles or anything, and they've given up, and they just say like, oh, this is a jungler, this is a mid.
Yeah.
And like they have established that 1-1-2 jungler is the meta. That's what people do, and they even have tips for it now. But for a long time, they didn't want people to do that, and they didn't want any roles to be defined. And I just don't think it works out, because in the end, something's gonna be the best.
Yep. That's why they constantly trying to balance the game around. We want to see people pick up this item more often because they never get it. Or this item because it's never used, and this one's used too much. But it still boils down to the fact that, well, if you built that Jotuns instead of that Executioner on this guy on, I don't know, Fenrir, then you're losing tons of things here. So that's why you need to buy that and so on and that forth. So everybody learns you buy this one item on this god because it's what's best. Even though it might be 2 hit, even though it might do 2 damage more, it's still that 2 damage. You did it wrong. You're a noob. Get out of here.
Like,
You're
when
doing
do
it
you
wrong.
not see Thor with Boots Voidblade?
Exactly. I mean, how else do you build Thor? I mean, what else could you incentivize to make him build differently? You got to find that perfect build, and unless they've made 2 items to where they're identical, then they're just gonna always pick one of the 2. I don't know. It falls under the how do you balance, I guess, which that's where it gets all dicey.
How do I smite?
How do I smite? Sounds like a good show.
Yeah.
then. How do I smite? Yes. So,
Yeah,
How do I smite? Fetching demon machine.
yay!
people
Oh,
have been really on edge lately and touchy though with anything that comes out. They're very defensive about keeping Smite kind of the way it
Yeah.
was. And
Cough
Yeah.
Reddit.
They're gonna
I kind
find
of feel
something to
for
complain about.
hi-rez. Like, it seems like no matter what they do, there's a lot of like immediate like lashing out. And
Yeah, I think DM put it pretty good. Everybody was whining about how they're putting out too many gods. They need to slow down and focus on changing the game. They start changing the game. They skipped god release for like a few weeks now, and everybody's whining about there's no new god. There's always going to be something for them to complain about.
Yep.
I think
I
it's also
remember-
worth pointing out that like there's different teams for god design, and there's different teams for
Yeah.
map design and like
Yeah.
stuff
Yeah,
like
true
that.
So, I mean, what I've heard about Kronos is that he's very complicated because they're bringing in whole different types of, I guess, spells and stuff like that that haven't been done before yet. So, you know, when you do that, you run into a lot of bugs. You run into a lot of theory problematic crafting. Like, if, say, he makes a bubble that slows down time and everything in it goes slower, then think about all of the things that could be overpowered, underpowered. You know, you got to think about every
On hers
single
impale.
instance that could make something broken. You know,
Yeah, it'll be cool to see Chronos Kit. Like, that's always an interesting area to play with, is like time manipulation and stuff in these kind of games. And it's just it'll be cool. Like, you know, like hi-rez has surprised me plenty of times now, where I know they'll have some awesome stuff. You know, when
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
came out with
Yeah.
like Thor, and then they came out with Freya. You have all these flying gods and stuff. And yeah, I'm excited to see what they do.
I'm hoping for something like Weaver's Ultimate from Dota 2. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
What
I'm
is
trying to
that?
remember what Weavers is.
It's where he goes back in time like 6 seconds to
Oh, yeah.
his health
Yeah.
and mana and position from that time.
wow, that's a long
Pretty
time
awesome.
back.
That's what I was thinking of too. I was thinking sort of like he activates it, does whatever he wants for like 5 seconds, and then comes back to the same spot. But
Yeah.
if that is true, and that's like his ultimate, that could be abused. Imagine putting a CC chain and timing it down. Like Poseidon Kraken, with the second he teleports back and he's dead.
Well, it sounds like
that's
this game
the
is
counterplay
already-
option.
This game is already very like alt synergies are like super OP in this game, and I don't mean that. I just mean what I'm saying is just like they're so
Teamwork.
strong, alt synergies and stuff. Yeah, already, and this game is definitely like very.
Let's just hope they don't put in Faceless Void's ult. That's all I'm gonna say.
I'm just really hoping Cronus is like a super complicated kit, because like,
Yeah.
because I've been on the extreme, and people ask me like, what's the most complicated god? And I sit there and I think, I'm like, no god's really super complicated.
We want
It's just about-
Meepo.
It's just about executing, like, just understand what the moves and executing it. There's nothing complicated. I just want to see,
Yeah.
like, a god that people pick up and just, like, what do any of these skills do? And then you see
Yeah.
someone who, like, figures it out and, like, does crazy things.
Exactly.
Yeah, Invoker.
Oh, Invoker. Yeah, that's another good one.
Invoker's a very good example of that concept.
How many combos of spells did Invoker have? I think it was around like 10 to 15.
He has 3 different types, right?
Yeah, he has,
depending on what
he has
the
3 different skills and his ult, which puts the combos together
Yeah.
and forms a skill.
And so it's 3 factorial, so 9? Or is it 11? No, 3 factorial is 6.
Yeah.
It's...
He's got 11, is what Chad just said.
Is it 11?
11.
I know it's based off
Sounds
3
right.
different types.
Let's take a poll.
Someone take a poll.
Straw poll. Somebody get that.
He's awesome. That's all you need to know.
10 skills.
He's
there
like
we
really
go.
complicated for most people, but if you figure him out, really, really strong dude to play.
Yeah, and he has like he's crazy. Like I
Yeah.
want a kit like that where it just so when you go into a game, you're like, okay, my goal is not to win. My goal is to figure it out. It'd be fun.
You need an abacus and a notepad to figure out what skill you want to use next.
So it's kind of interesting that that patch isn't coming out this week.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, I
I was
guess it's
thinking,
kind of
like, at
good for
least
you
a minor
guys because you
patch.
don't have to learn
Yeah.
a new patch while you're on a plane.
Yeah, we're feeling confident in this patch, and we were happy about it.
That's probably another reason why they decided to postpone it is because they put the patch out, say, today or tomorrow, and then half the staff's leaving to go to RTX, and then suddenly there's a crisis, and, half the people are here, half the people are somewhere else, and that's not what you want to do when you're trying to put out a big patch.
Well, and then you run the risk too if you have like that thing where you can sell like your pots back and still get the bonus or something crazy ends up
Thor
happening.
does true damage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, Fawn. Exactly.
I played Thor in the scrim, and I was like, why did I just kill him? And I had no idea. And I played a whole game, and I'm like, man, I'm just like 15-0. This is going really well. And then
I
someone
remember
afterwards, like,
being in
Thor does
chat
true
with
damage.
them. I remember
Yeah.
being in chat with those guys who were laying against, and they're like, "What the pawn just destroyed us? What happened? My face."
I had no idea going into that game. It was crazy. But yeah, glitches like that happen. I think they didn't have any patch run packs for like the same reason. Ton of people were leaving.
Oh, jeez. You remember
And,
when
like, a
Death's
big
Toll and
tournament.
Mark of the Vanguard? Or no, Death's Toll gave you Mark's bonus too?
Yeah.
Did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was there for a while.
That was in there for a while before they caught that one. They're like, suddenly you guys will notice that when you pick up Death's Toll, you will be getting a lot more damage because it's been bugged for a little bit, and we just figured it out.
But this patch seems like it's in a pretty solid state, so it's good
Yeah,
that they're sticking
I'm
with
loving
this.
it.
It's been doing good.
Yeah.
Now, do
It's
we
a
know what
fun
happened
patch.
with the servers today? Is it just like a hiccup or something, or
Yeah, that was weird.
it was like they
I
kicked
got to
half
play
people out?
Stepmania on Smite Pro.
All sorts of
So
stuff like that. It was weird. So we have Skeleton asks a question. Pom Pom, would you like to see an Evelyn in Smite? If so, anything you would change for like long-term stealth? And I think when she's done,
Hermit
with that-
stealth.
You
would
asked
not be
me. Evelyn was my favorite god. I played Evelyn when she was considered trash at 2K rating.
I
Ooh.
love
as
you,
a-
Vaughn.
Evelyn was like one of my favorite characters.
Do you want
That
to
being
break down Evelyn for us
said-
real quick before you
Okay,
go
Evelyn. Old Evelyn or new Evelyn?
into that? Whichever one that he is probably talking about. Maybe old Evelyn?
We'll go with old Evelyn.
Yeah.
Old Evelyn was basically you had a skill that you just tapped on like a half-second cooldown that anyone near you, two people near you, got like damaged. And it was a really low damaging skill, but it was like low cooldown, so you just sat there and spammed it. Then you had a stealth that took a while to activate, but then you could be stealth for like 40 seconds once you got enough ranks into it. Then you had a single target skill that just nuked them and lowered their armor and resistances. And then your ultimate at that time, oh my god, what was her ultimate at that time?
More movement speed, attack speed.
Yeah,
and
more
people
movement speed
died
and
around
attack
her.
speed.
She got health for
And
it, I believe.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
Movement speed, attack speed, when people around her died, she got stuff for it. So basically, she was like a hyper assassin.
Okay. And when she did well, she got more hyper.
And the thing was, she was designed when she first came out. She was the most pub stompy champ, and Riot said when they nerfed her, we nerfed her into oblivion because she's a problem at low level play and causing people to quit. We'll come back and revisit her, and it took them a year to revisit her.
Yeah.
Wow.
But she was good. In Smite, permanent stealth would be.
That'd be broken. They'd have
Yeah.
to introduce so much just to be able to counter that.
Yeah, you'd have to
Yep,
ward everywhere. You'd have to have stealth seeing wards and all that stuff like that. And
Because in League, you can see all around you. Like, you can see your entire around you. So if someone's stealth and you have a ward near you, you're going to see that.
Yeah.
It's very easy to just, like, stealth by and, like, get behind someone and, like, just make them sad.
yeah,
And
in this game, you
like-
have to make sure that you have your audio on to hear Loki going into his stealth, and then you're like, holy crap, he's
Yeah.
around here somewhere.
Just
Like, imagine
imagine Loki with permanent stealth,
yeah, imagine if Loki could stealth for 20 seconds.
and he only popped up when he attacked you.
Yeah, he
There
would.
you
He
go.
could stealth way out of your hearing distance, and then, bam, there's Loki on you.
I would love to see a character with the idea of like this really low cooldown spammy skill and like an
Yeah.
ultimate that didn't necessarily do damage but like hyper augmented you. I wouldn't mind seeing a character design like that, but in terms of like the stealth mechanic, you'd need to add a lot of ways to counter stealth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe like a god that has sort of a really long stealth, but instead of it does little damage,
I know it.
but maybe has some CC abilities, like more of a support, like a squishy support.
I know
that-
how to bring in
yeah.
permanent stealth and let it not be breaking. whilst not having stealth wards. They're a
Alright.
wavy person when they're running through. So it's more like super camouflage versus pure stealth.
Maybe.
So if you're paying close attention, you see him walking, but you have to be paying close
Like
attention.
probes in StarCraft.
Yeah,
not
like
probes,
probes. Yeah, you're talking.
probes?
Sorry, observers.
Yeah, observers.
Yeah,
there you go.
Observers,
There
where
you
you
go.
can see them. You can see little when they walk by, and you can see them flicker or something like that, to where it's like they're kind of there, but you have to be paying attention. And maybe, I guess, other than that, you'd have to add footsteps to the game.
They would also have to add in somebody like Lee Sin with some kind of
Yeah,
ability that has a rebuild.
I
So-
think the biggest problem with it would just end up causing. In high rated play, you'd see everyone being passive and just like denying that person any
That's
farm and then winning.
Yeah.
And then in low level play, you just see like this la stomp fest.
Yeah.
Well,
When
I
you
agree
have
with
long
Pond,
stealth
you just-
durations, oh, good.
I agree with Pond that like I actually think it could work and it would be cool. It's just there's no counter to it right now. And there needs to be ways for you to deal with it, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that could work, and I think it would be an interesting role to see God play.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would. I do want to
Yeah.
actually ask, now that more people have tuned into the stream and stuff like that, I kind of want to revisit the double jungly thing, and I want to look more on the other end of it, of how do you stop it? If you're in a pub game and you see that you're going up against a team that's got a double jungler and they're doing all right at it, how, as a random team, what do you run in general? I mean, do you just like say, screw it, we're out of the jungle, just make our 2-1-2 lanes and take our buffs and try and play really safe,
Wards.
so that way we're kind of staying grouped up together? Or do you have to go double jungle yourself? Or do you just have to ward the hell out of everything?
Yeah,
Or
I
a
mean,
combination of all this.
Wards. You need wards.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead, KO.
oh, okay. So, well, the big thing, like obviously everybody's saying wards already. I mean, I don't even need to say that, but whenever you're playing against those kind of comps where they put that much kind of roaming presence around the map,
Mhm.
as soon as you know where somebody is, like where they're going, you have to pay a lot of attention to your map. And if they're making a play somewhere, you just have to really pressure the other side of the map. And you can do a lot more because that's so much more presence that they have away from you.
Mhm.
And yeah, that warding and just trying to play really passive until you see what's going on, until you get a read on them. It's
Would-
definitely hard though for randoms, so
Yeah.
not randoms,
Yeah.
but people who are just playing casually for fun. Like, yeah.
As like a quick answer, I guess, to people that are playing casually, would it be better to, if you see that they're double jungling, try and ward in their jungle, so that way you would more want to focus warding in their jungle so you can see where they are versus where they might be on your side?
Ward
then-
safely.
Ward
Keyword.
safely. Okay, keyword. So like just over the mid lane or the mid line of the map, I guess, like put some over there to see where they pop up. When they pop up, try and run in there and steal any buffs that may be available.
It depends
run
if
in
you
there
have a
more deeper.
jungler too. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have a jungler on your team, the one thing you have to keep in mind is that to help your jungler like win, you have to be willing to leave your lane more and brawl in the jungle, because you can't just let that two-man jungle team like bully your jungler out of everything, or he's just going to be way behind. You're just going to lose.
Exactly.
So you have to be willing and ready to like roam into the jungle. As soon as you see them and your jungler like pings out where they are, then you need to collapse. And that kind of takes away that the bully presence that they have for your jungler.
Because that was one of the big problems we had yesterday when we were playing some games. I mean, we went like 0-4 because we kept running into double junglers. We were playing as fives, just viewers and stuff, and they would show up at our buffs right at the start of the game. They would kill one of us, or sometimes they didn't even get any kills. They would just take all the buffs on that side of the map, and we're like, well, what do we do now?
The answer to that is if they invade and take that, you go to the opposite corner.
Yeah, but like, what,
So
how
you
do
just
you
go
how
to
do you manage
theirs.
that when you were there and now you
Yeah.
have to run up there? Why can't they be back there?
It puts you behind, but that's the answer. You'll still get all your buffs, and it's actually possible that when you go back there, because if they want to spend that much energy going towards your buff and invading with that many people, they're going to be there taking that buff, and minions are starting to get to lane, and so they'll be behind that way. So you'll be behind, you'll be late to your jungle and like getting experience, but at the same time, like some of their team's going to be late to get to their experience too.
So try and rotate and take their side that they were the counter side
Yeah.
of it
Yeah.
quickly. And
Mhm.
so Because
It's
you
like
think-
it's like what people used to do. Like if they Vive Man like Gold Furied, it wasn't worth it because like they still had to go to lane.
yeah.
And like they lost an entire wave. It's the same kind of
Mhm.
concept. So you might personally feel behind, but them as a team, like they're probably further behind, especially if they didn't get a kill. Really, if they didn't get a kill.
So at all costs, make sure you get out alive, even if it results in them taking the buff. Just make it
Yeah.
out and try and get away from them and go take something else really fast.
Mhm.
And then maybe fall into a lane for a short time to get a little extra experience and then fall back into the jungle.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's it. It basically they're not as far ahead as they think if they stole your initial buff, especially if they didn't get a kill.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one common mistake you see is people like way overcommit to securing something like one small Fury camp and miss like a wave and a half or something, and it's like
Mm.
it
Would it
Doesn't
be
really
worth
make sense.
leaving one person behind to try and stall them? Like somebody that's got a good escape or something like that to be like, I'm just going to poke, and try and keep you here whilst the rest of us run around and grab the rest of the buffs.
Yeah,
just have one
actually,
person there annoying them.
Yeah, just to
Imagine
be
one
an
person
annoyance.
stalling 5 people. That
Yeah,
would totally
I mean-
be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I also
just trying
want to
think-
go back and say something about the double jungle.
Go for it.
KO is completely kind of right about how you handle that. You wait till they pop up and you see where they are, and then like let's say they show up on left lane. Well, as the right lane, you now need to start making plays because you have the advantage. You know where the jungler is. You know that they're a double jungler, and here's your chance to do something. You can hop in the jungle, take a buff. You can pressure your lane way harder than you used to be able to, and you can like make a lot of plays. And also, if you know where they are and they're going back to their jungle, if you're the 2 lane and your jungler is on the same side, you can 3-man rush the 2-man in the jungle.
Yeah.
And you can probably catch them off guard. So ward coverage is the way you counter it, but it's really how you play after you actually see them with the wards.
Yeah.
And if you're a mid player, and you come across this and you have like a single jungler, especially with those like side harpies, you need to leave mid lane and come like fight for those buffs, and not let him just have those for free. And you can do that. And as long as you guys get the buffs and you come back to lane and still get the experience, totally fine, totally worth it.
What I like to do in mid, if I see their jungler or double jungle gank a lane, like if they gank right lane, I take left XP Fury and maybe help with the left jungle buff, or vice versa.
Okay. Would you go as far as to taking counter jungling at that point? Like, instead of just helping take yours, would you? They're in right lane trying to do a gank, whether or not successful. You're busy as mid going into the left jungle, helping take the enemy's attack buff with your jungler and maybe one of your laners, or something super fast. Or would that be
Sudden
kind of an
thought.
Would that be kind of overreaching trying to get that much?
Well, on left side and right side, where the jungle buffs are placed, or the bigger ones, it's sort of difficult. It brings you really, really out of position.
Mhm.
Sorry for the phone if you can hear that.
That's all right.
And
Ring, ring, ring.
but if you have your jungler in the area with you, it's easy to just go and quickly take the red and then return to jungle. Like, for example, if they gank right, and you and your jungler go up, take their red, the jungler can gank left, you can push a wave in mid, and if right needs help, you can rotate right because you'll be in mid, and if left needs help, you can rotate left.
Here's a big question. When rotating, do you tend to stay on your side of the jungle or the enemies depending on where they are? Like, if they're very in the middle of them, say they're ganking and they're kind of in the middle of the lane, do you want to be the safe route, go on your side of the jungle and then come up across like into the middle of the outlet there, or is it worth risking going on their side of the jungle to make sure that you catch them if they're trying to run away?
I say it's almost always better to go from your side. I mean,
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
unless you are like a super kill lane or you have like some weird situation where you can just ult through them like a Hebo or something, but that's probably not going to happen with the side lane.
Mhm.
Then yeah, you should be going around on your side because the rest of their team can also collapse, and now you're going to lose your advantage. Like if you're in a situation where you're 2 versus 1 on right, and you have your mid, and you're single jungler, and then they go for the mid right side harpies, like their 2-man jungle team,
Mhm.
and then say you guys push your lane, right? So you just like shove that minion waves to buy you time, and then you go to help and you rotate over. If you go on your side, then yeah, you're going to be able to get there and reinforce your team and support and secure or kill. If you go all the way around, then their mid's going to come, and now they're going to have 4 against your 3.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much always like barring like really good war coverage to know where like they are. You can sometimes go behind them and like around an unsafe way, but like it's pretty much like it's way more like you could go around their side and all of a sudden, oh, I'm the jungler, now I'm here suddenly, and now you're caught out of position and you're now like in between the reinforcements for their team and the initial fight.
Yeah.
So it's pretty much always better to go from like the safe way and just reinforce your team rather than try and make some crazy play.
And the thing is, you're coming from like the side that their base is closest to, so people back and then they come straight from base and they can reinforce their team much faster than you can with your team going back and coming to join the fight again. And now with wards, it's like I don't know if we're talking about that later, but teleport is just crazy.
Yeah.
The way it's going on this meta.
5-man teleports into the Minotaur.
Oh man, yeah, they like
Yeah.
games end in such a flash now for such a low investment. Like late game,
talk about that.
to spend 250 gold and just teleport your whole team in on top of their Phoenix after FG and end the game
I'll be
in
right
like
back.
30 seconds is crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
But it does make for interesting stuff in like the team fight phases. I like how you get into team fights and like somebody kind of gets out low, backs, and like teleports back in, and there's more emphasis on clearing wards because it's now not only a vision thing, it's like a respawn point.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, wards. Back to like the 2-man jungling thing. If you use wards and you scout out the 2-man gank team coming to like gank your lane, and then you just back off, or you just kind of bait them so you don't back off immediately. You just wait for them to like, they go, oh okay, we can go, and then they go in and you just back off as soon as you see them commit to it. You're making it waste like a lot of time, and that really feels bad for their 2-man jungle team. Because immediately when that happens, left sees that their 2-man jungle team is now failed to gank in your lane, so they're over there still. They're gonna have to either walk back to base. They have a lot. You just bought left lane a lot of time, and they know that they're not gonna be ganked either, so they can push up and all that. So I mean, it has its ups and downs, but wards.
I think that's just a general good strategy you mentioned there, which is the bait their time, because time is anytime ganking is time away from farming, and I see a lot of people like, oh, I put the ward there, I see them coming, and they'll just run into their tower because there's no wave there. Bait it out, like you're safe. You know they're coming for you. Just like let them actually run towards you a little bit.
Like if you put a ward all the way up by their cooldown or speed, cooldown or blue, and the second that they come into your ward range, you start running away. Then they're just gonna go, okay, he knows where they're and they're just gonna. It's like they didn't miss a beat. They're just gonna continue farming the Furies and stuff. But if you play up like you're ignorant to their position, and then they get excited and they come in, and maybe they might even go crazy because they have already committed in their minds and they really want that kill. So maybe they'll do something silly and way overextend under your tower or something. I've personally even seen that like in competitive games, and that's definitely a good strategy against 2-man jungle.
So basically you see that they're coming, be prepared for it, but don't run away yet. Just try and keep in your mind, I need to save my escape to jump if I have to, but wait till they're almost in range, then start running to keep them, to basically kite them your way and be like, commit to this, I really don't want to give you the kill, but I want you to wait.
That is the worst feeling for those junglers. Like, they are facepalming after that happens, because they feel like they didn't even go through a ward. They feel like you just
caught onto it, that
they
they're
saw
there.
you or something. Yeah, exactly, and they start feeling really vulnerable.
It's in the same vein of like the mid lane. The mid lane, like for example, if you know they're taking the heartbeat camp and your waves already pushed, you can kind of walk over there and be like, "Hey, jungler, I know you're here," and like start pressuring them to like try and get them to waste as much time as you can. It's really small stuff like that where like I'm gonna purposely play in a way to try and make you waste time because I have nothing to do. There's nothing I can actually do like with my time right now, so I might as well try and waste your time. It's just really small stuff like that. You'll see people bait like gank attempts. You'll see people walk in and be like, "Oh, you want to take this buff? I'm here. Do you really want to go for it?" And like you totally aren't going to commit and try and stop them from taking that red, but you make them double check whether they want to really do it. So
you guys talked about teleport, right?
we haven't.
No, we haven't.
Oh, okay.
Tell us.
So Like, Pon, how's it been like in just regular games with teleport? I mean,
It's
is it the same
no
kind
one
of deal
uses
pretty
it.
much? Oh,
No one
really?
uses it. It's the people I've seen use it really poorly. They'll use it for things like 3-man trying to teleport gank middle lane.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's cool that you got the teleport gank off, but like it's so early in the game, you can't push down that tower, and you just spent 750 gold as a team
Yeah,
to like get that one gank. And so like where
for
it's
like a
really
300 gold
used,
gank. Yeah.
it's almost like way better for the late game. Like it's really good for like
Mhm.
instantly moving across the map, like after you take a fire giant, or getting to a fire giant to take it, or instantly moving to take a phoenix. Like it's
Yeah.
really good for just as a team, late game going for objectives.
That and if you get pushed out of a team fight, if you can back, heal up, and teleport back in, that's pretty devastating.
Yep.
And I think the big thing though is like it's as a team, and so in casual queue you just don't see it.
Oh yeah.
Well, that's something then, like, for people who are trying to kind of improve their play, like maybe you guys have like a team, start using teleport as you get later into the game. It's extremely cheap for the amount of equity that you get to have your team 5-man move around the map with the 250 gold individual investment. And if you ever get into a position where you're in like a 35-minute game or something, and you 4-for-1 trade them, and you guys are maybe you fought them just past Gold Fury on their side. Well, you all back, teleport to your ward at FG, take FG, and you know, you
Preferably push from
you
there.
can just you could probably get like 2 Phoenixes straight off of that.
Yeah, where before you'd have to back, try and recover, and then run to Gold Fury and risk them respawning in time. That's no longer a problem.
Yeah.
And so why it is gold lost, it's taking Fire Giant, which if you were to take the stats as gold value, like the magic power regen that you get, it's completely worth that trade. You just have to make it further worthwhile by getting towers or phoenixes down. And if you get like 1 phoenix down, it's totally worth it. Like you've made up that gold almost.
Yeah, early in the game, it's like teleport is just it's weird that it's based on gold and it doesn't scale, you know, because gold is just so valuable early game, and that like spending 250 to teleport is rarely worth doing before, you know, like 15 minutes into the game. But after like 35 minutes, it's so cheap to get that much mobility, and I feel like that's maybe the one thing that the competitive scene isn't really liking with this patch, is just kind of the way that works right now. And I don't know, but not necessarily speaking for everyone, but I know like a lot of us. I mean, they did some things like they lowered the respawn timer, and you know that was kind of to keep games going, even though one team makes a big play and stuff like this. The way that teleport works now, it completely negates like anything that they put in place to make the games go on longer and encourage comebacks. It's a big slap in the face of that whole aspect.
There also needs to be some kind of visual cue.
Oh yeah, it's like it's almost like they blink in.
Yeah.
Well, they actually added an effect to blink because that was a huge problem for a long time.
Yeah.
Where it was like blink, like it just like you're like, oh, I'm suddenly here now with like no audio or visual cue, and then they added an audio cue and it was still weird, and they finally added a visual one. Like that was one thing I really liked about like Naja when Naja came out. The first time I watched a Naja video because I had to do that reveal, Naja's auto attack swings looked different as she did that. I'm like, does she have like an attack progression? And I was able to identify that by just looking. Everything in the game, especially in one that's like the perspective it is and how like AoE and flash everything is, everything needs like a visual cue, and that's something I really hope hi-rez starts doing. Is everything needs a visual cue. If it doesn't have a visual cue, it's not a complete item. Don't release it yet. Naja's a boy. I'm sorry, chat.
Everyone gets super mad at Pong.
Everyone gets super mad at me.
Yeah.
I
How
took
dare you.
Spanish, ends in an A, feminine.
I can understand that. It's fine.
I do like the team fights though. That's like it's cool, and it's a love-hate relationship because it is just awesome when you know, Xing gets like low early in the fight, and then he like runs out, backs, and then teleports in behind them with that like clutch ward, and ends up getting like a triple.
Yeah.
You have that Fed carry that can come right back into the fight. But
It's pretty strong.
yeah, it is.
It is.
It
That,
is.
and he can teleport there and clean up what's trying to get away too, which is just really crucial because you get those few people that get away, but they're not really out of it yet. since there's a ward there, so it basically
How
makes nowhere
dumb is
safe.
it an assault though?
Oh, yeah.
I hadn't actually used it in Assault yet.
Dude, it's so bad. You can have like 2 people teleport and take the Minotaur by themselves. Pretty easy. Just one person can do it, actually.
I did that once with Apollo. I ulted. They were pushing down our Phoenix, and I ulted all the way over to their Minotaur and just took it because I can't back to defend it.
Very true.
I
means
guess.
they
I
gotta
guess.
get-
For teleport scrolls, would you rather have? Because like the problem is they're late game. They're not early game items, and people I guess would imagine they're early game items, but they're really not.
Mhm.
They're too expensive. But they become this late game where like it just can suddenly end the late game in a really unsatisfying way.
Anticlimactic.
What if
yeah.
they made it
exactly.
cheaper and you could only teleport to towers? That shifts it from a late game item to an early game item because it's only early game because towers are up.
What does that have to be your tower or just any tower?
Your tower.
Teleport
Okay.
to their Phoenix.
Yeah,
Well,
teleport
Yeah,
to
that sounds
Phoenix.
fair, Demon.
Everyone spawns, teleports to Phoenix, dies to Fountain.
Exactly.
No, I think that's a good idea. I was also thinking about like scaling the cost, or if it was maybe like 75 gold early game. And, like,
what about the
that?
having both? You have the ward teleporting scroll that's
you don't want to
like
make it too weak.
300 gold, and then you make a tower teleporting scroll that's like 100. So if you just need to get back to lane, it's cheap and fast. If you need to get to somewhere to pull off something that's expensive, then you got to dump a lot of money into it. It's more worth putting him behind than it is putting you ahead, I guess.
I almost don't like the teleport mechanic as a whole, period, but
It's weird how people can just. I think the one thing that's strange, and the thing that maybe is the problem, is that the whole team can just teleport, whereas like with a lot of other MOBAs, there's like teleport mechanics where like one person or like a
Yes.
few people can contribute cross-map presence with it, which makes for like interesting plays and stuff. But it's not like you can just boom and they teleport into their Minotaur in the game.
In Dota 2, for every other person that teleports, it gets longer for each consecutive person. So
Oh.
that was that kind of kept
Yeah.
that from happening in Dota 2.
another thing you could do is always make it consume the ward when you get there.
Yeah, where you have to
Oh,
buy
that
a
would
ward
be
and a
interesting.
teleport. So that way, if you want to warp
What?
the whole team in there, you have to teleport, drop a ward, teleport, drop a ward, teleport, drop a ward.
The thing is, if you did that, it would immediately like you just would never use teleport scrolls.
Yeah, pretty much.
That solution just cripples it because the whole goal. The thing is, it's a bad item. Just period. It's 250 gold to move yourself across the map for a potential to get a kill. Is what the item implies, and that's not worth it because it's only a chance, and it's a lot of gold, and the payoff just isn't really there. What makes it worthwhile is late game. Being able to move across the entire map as 5 people is completely worth it. If you take away that capability, you have to immediately nerf the cost, but then it becomes this crazy early game thing. And so, like, if you were to make that change, which I kind of like how simplistic it is, it would just make the item bad. And
Well, the
I
thing
don't
I like when it's on, I kind of like the idea of it being an active slot thing because actives are like a big commitment where it takes away like
isn't
a
it
major
on
part of your
active?
play. Yeah, it's on like the one teleport.
The
thing that
recall.
nobody gets.
Shielded recall.
Yeah.
Dude,
yeah.
someone got it today, and I was so sad because they got away with 10 health.
Oh wow.
They lost, but it was sad.
Yeah, something like people might see more action with that if teleport scroll wasn't in the game, just like so cheap for late game, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It might be
More
interesting
people
if
would
you
pick it
have
up.
the shielded recall instead of splitting it tier 3, split it tier 2, so that like you can get. So instead of having to invest 1,100 to get the teleport, you only have to invest the 600. You have to invest the 600 to get like a long cooldown version, then you can get a short cooldown version. So you can actually get it
Yeah.
earlier on, and then you can also help it go into the late game. I think that's the
That'd be
better
pretty good.
solution
That's a really
it being
that's a
on
really
an
good
active?
solution.
Yeah.
than it being
'cause
on the items.
You don't want it to be like 850 gold for you to get it, you know, to just be able to do the teleport. But yeah, like you said, if it was like a tiered thing where you could do it from level 1, people would be willing to spend 250 gold to be able to do a solo lane teleport gank.
I think that would be a better option. But who knows? I think there's also a big thing with there's only 2 consumable slots, and you're already fighting for health potions, mana potions, wards, both types of wards. Red potion, blue potion. You don't really see blue potion; you see red potion more often.
Yeah.
But like you're already fighting for a ton of slots, and especially early game where like this is also why junglers are strong. Is you have 2 slots. Ideally, you want to go health potion and mana potion, but you're now going to have to sacrifice that for a ward, and if you don't, you lose. If you buy a ward, you now either lost health potions or mana potions. And so you're already fighting for slots, and so teleport scrolls like are problematic early game for that regard as well. And I kind of want them to move away from adding consumables and bringing over a lot of things to abilities.
Yeah.
And I think that a split tiered teleport would be like the best route that they could take for that, and it would help alleviate how crazy late game the power is, and it would also allow it to be used early game without it being absolutely broken. So
Should write that up and submit it. I mean,
possibly.
I'll just force them to watch the show. They usually do anyway. They
No,
find
some
it
good ideas.
interesting. So we actually have a caller, and
Ooh.
I would like to
Ruh-roh.
let him call
All right.
because he's been waiting for like 20 minutes now.
You interrupt our
Goodness.
And we're
conversation.
just like, wards,
Oh,
wards,
no.
teleport, 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 wards,
Yeah.
wards, teleport.
If we have a caller, just
Interrupt you. All right, Colmbro, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Okay, you can hear them, right?
Calbro!
Hello.
Everybody else can hear him?
Hello.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
good.
here.
Yay, it's working as intended. Go ahead with your question, sir.
All right. So this is gonna backtrack you guys to the Dumble Jungle. Sadly. What usually the meta right now, the 1-1-2 that has been going on. You need a ranged AD carry usually, and a tank in the one lane. But if you do the 1-1-1-1, then exactly how does that work? Because then you need to put solo laners usually at either 2 or get Neath on the 1, which leaves her extremely squishy, and an aggressive lane could take her out.
I think the base premise of needing a ranged is slightly flawed.
Okay.
I think range isn't necessarily that that prevalent, and the reason why people like On Her and Neath are good and Apollo is not because they're ranged, but because of what they bring to the table.
Dude, why
Whereas
you gotta hate on my
Apollo's-
roll, Palm?
I'm not hating on your role. I'm not
quit.
hating on your role. I feel like you would even kind of agree with this. Ranged characters are more good because they bring more to the table in terms of like On Her stun, pillar, his CC immunity, and that leap. Apollo for his crazy split pushing, Neath for the global ultimate. It's not because they're ranged, it's because
it's
they
because
have a
they're
good
good.
skill set.
Yeah,
And
I
so
agree.
I don't think it's necessarily that you need range, but again, all those other characters, they're innately safe as long as you don't push too far up. Neath has a snare and a backflip. Honor has a leap and a pillar and a knockback. Apollo, if he gets to 5, has his ultimate, and he just be like, I'm done and out. So I think you can throw ranged into a solo lane, and they can do okay as long as they're careful. And
Yeah.
especially if you're 1-1-1 with 2 junglers, it's not that hard for the 2 junglers to maybe favor ganking the ranged carry.
Yeah.
Well,
to help
that's what
assist.
I'm saying. Like, if you have wards and you see that they're on the other side of the map, maybe it's better just to play extremely aggressive against the squishy lane. Because they're on the
so-
other side of the map. That forces them to come back, and then they have no XP on that side of the jungle. So if you just come back when they're over there, they just wasted time.
I mean, one of the hard things though about any solo lane situation is just you either succeed in the zoning or you accidentally like push the lane, and there's a lot of gods that can kind of bait you to go for them, and end up still getting away with like a Mark of the Vanguard, because and then what happens is you end up pulling aggro, so the lane pushes in the favor of the solo laner, and they still get all that experience and most of the gold. So it's tricky, but yeah, like it's definitely hard for that squishy solo laner to get his comfort zone and get farm. And if the other team's like warding well, that's just one of the disadvantages that you have to work around. You kind of have to have 2 solo laners, 2 people who can figure out how to hold their own.
And it's also not impossible to throw that range into middle. I know Neithan
Oh, yeah, a lot of people do
on
that.
Hurricane mid reasonably, and so that could also be the other solution. But I think that is really that's more highlighting the weakness of the 1-1-1-2 meta, where and this even is a weakness for this is the weakness for the 1-1-2 meta, where like if you see the jungler that solo laner on the 1-1-2 meta will have the exact same situation happen to them, where they can just start playing hyper aggressive against them. And it just happens to be a little bit worse for the 1-1-1 meta with the range, but there's ways around it. And having two junglers, if they want to be crazy aggressive, like if you just maybe don't gank the side lane and really pressure the enemy jungler in mid, you're never going to have that opportunity to be aggressive against the ranged AD.
Yeah, one thing too, just from experience of playing, being that person who's like the ranged AD with a tank against sometimes a squishy solo laner, like we were against like a side-in solo laner, as one example. One of the issues when you're running against double jungler is that they have so much presence gank potential that they can bring around behind you if you do decide to play aggressively. So you almost like want to freeze your lane even though you're against squishies, you know? Even though you could push and harass, it puts you in this weird position where you're like, okay, well, even if I push and try to get tower damage, they're probably going to kill my Midas Boots tank if they come around behind, because that's going to be 3 people that's pretty secure. So it's not like that solo person doesn't have presence, you know, at all. Just being the fact that those other 2 people could be right around the corner.
So it's better to know when to back up when the junglers are coming around.
Yeah. Obviously, like, if you have wards, that can help you. But the thing with a lot of tanks, like if you're running with a Ymir and you're like a ranged AD and a Ymir trying to harass and poke down the tower, and then their double jungler team comes around, like loops around behind you, and you see them at your wards, so you're like, oh, we know they're coming. Even though you know they're coming, they're probably going to kill your tank that has Midas Boots. They just, you know, have 3 people and they can secure that, and it's Midas Boots, so that tank is a lot squishier.
Yeah, Ymir's
That's
the
my
easier
experience.
target.
Yeah, always. You always just go for that Midas Boots tank, because that's like all the rage.
All right, so Columbo, we're gonna have to move on because we have like a bunch more callers.
Oh, that's
suddenly.
fun. Thanks for answering the questions, guys.
Thanks, sir.
Cool.
See you, man.
Love you, Combro.
How many
Later.
calls?
We have 2 lined up right now. Let me get
I thought you
my
said
next one
24.
on the line. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Suddenly
Dude,
going to
I'd
be a
handle
popular-
24. Let's go.
All right, Mr. Alex, are you there? Can you hear us? Alex Trebek, are you there, Mr. Alex?
Suck it, Trebek.
Dum dum.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Alex.
Hello.
Are you there? He says sideways face. I guess he's having issues with his microphone. Wait for it.
Well,
wait
I
for
guess why?
All right, if you can't get that working, just ask him to type it. Or
it. Yeah, I
Why-
was gonna say.
Yeah.
There you go.
Why we wait for him to try and be able to speak? Ninja Tabby?
Mhm.
Please don't build it. It's mathematically not good.
Don't.
Zatman does good in spite of him building it, not because he builds it.
It is true about him, like how it does contribute more for the late game with all that crit. But
It actually ends up, if you run the DPS calcs, losing 15 pen on a high pen build, where like you've built Boots, Executioners, and Titans, not having that 15 pen is a DPS drop pretty hard. It's a DPS drop
when you're
it-
hitting
it-
the tanks and like the
even on squishies, because squishies will build they passively unless it's like unless Hebo might be the only exception, like because like his armor's really low, but generally people have like 70 armor based from leveling,
yeah.
and like not
That's-
being able
that's
to pen
true.
through all of that. Like Ninja Tab is only good early when they're at 0 to 10 armor, and late when they're around, I think the break even point was 20 to 25 with the Deathbringer, and generally like you're not bringing them that low.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it's like not a good decision. I mean, but it is cheaper, and on
Not
some,
significantly.
yeah, it's not to the point where it like justifies the stat loss.
I would never get it.
I know you
I-
hate it. I know.
I don't think there's ever a situation to get it.
Okay.
Maybe if they release Ash.
Yeah. Isn't that neat though?
They're really savage.
I mean, other than just blind shooting the arrow, would be kind of nice being able to do.
That would be awesome if you could blind shoot the arrow.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Be fun.
Like, just
That's what I thought it was.
I know.
They
Yeah, when you
released
first
it.
saw it, you think that's what it. I think it would be nice to be able to lock on or blind shoot it if you think you have a good idea where they are. I think it would cause people as Neath to use their ult more often. Instead of just waiting for that one guy that's low, it's like, oh, we could be low over there. Well, I'm going to shoot over there just to find out.
Randomly find people in the jungle?
Yeah.
Why not?
So,
So- I was going to say,
Real
here's his
quick.
question was, with the teleport and the wards thing, do you think it would be better if basically wards became visible when somebody's teleporting to it?
Yeah.
yeah.
That'd be good.
Yes, I think that's a change that that should be like one of the visual cues. Like when someone's teleporting, what should happen is there should be like this huge particle effect around them. The ward they're teleporting to should light up and start swirling and get crazy particle effects, and then they should flash and appear there. Like that's the kind of level of notification people should have.
And there
And
should
that's-
also be a little icon on the minimap as well.
That's the
For your
worst
team, at
feeling when you
least.
hear that zoop, and you just like, and it's like a Sobek full item, full build.
They just, like,
Evo, and it's
appear there.
no. Yeah.
It's weird.
So I
Like-
gotta run it in like 5 minutes, guys. So if we want to
Yeah.
do like one more question,
Yeah, we need to
I'll
wrap
wrap
this
it
up
up for
because
me.
we are going to be good. Let me get to our last caller here
we
real
got
quick.
Scrams,
Scram.
Who you be scrimming?
SK.
Also, can I
SK,
message you
ooh,
on Skype after this, KO?
Cross things.
What's that?
Can I message you on Skype after
Oh
this?
yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Mr. Stringer, are you there, sir?
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Go, Stringer.
What's your question, sir? Or
Okay.
comment?
You had mentioned the 1-1-2 and making squishies in the solo lanes. Does it bring back the double jungle? Bring back a tanky meta, like because of putting guys like Odin and Hercules in those solo positions instead.
Hmm. What's your name?
I think it can. This is kind of what I was alluding to with the ranged isn't necessary. It's more what the god brings to the table.
Mhm.
You could, in theory, throw 2 tank side lanes, have a tanky support, have your jungler, and then have like your normal squishy middle, and you now suddenly have 3 tanks.
Yeah.
But I think you have to look at tanks and bruisers, and like keep in mind that like the tank meta was like a lot of like tanks.
Yeah,
Not
it was
really
like
like
Sobek Ymir,
right
not
now-
Odin.
it's more about having like some early game survival, and you can't be like completely squishy, and you know you have like more bruisery squishy characters as opposed to just like tons of tanks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't think it won't bring back Ymir, Sobek, Bacchus as a team comp, but it will. I think it will incentivize you to build overall as a team a little bit tankier.
Yeah.
Just because you have to build tankier early to make sure that you don't die in lane. It's like this is really a bad meta for Anubis, even though Anubis just got buffed. Because like if
Poor
I'm a Kali
Anubis.
jungler, I just walk in 1 to him, and then his escape to me is bind and slow, and then I just spin ult on him and he dies because he has like what 600 health.
Yeah.
Poor Anubis. But I couldn't ever do that to an Odin.
Right.
I
And
love the
if
Anubis
Neath
changes.
flip, if I'm a Hercules and I got a Neath against me, she uses her flip. I'm gonna flip her back. Thank you very much. And then charge down and just end her life.
Yep.
Yeah. Boulder for 50% of her health.
There you go.
Boulder's too strong.
Awesome. Well,
Lord, too strong.
thank you very much, Mr. Stringer, for your call. We're going to have to wrap this up now so we can
Sure.
let people go on about their day. All right, guys. So,
Speaking of Boulder,
KO, since you are our lovely late guest and you have to leave first, where can we find you and tell us a little bit, like, you know, what do you stream at, what, KO, right? Or
Yeah, I actually just started streaming a lot more recently.
took about damn
it's
time.
just- Yeah, yeah. But it's Twitch TV KO, just like my name, and same with my Twitter @KO. If you guys want to follow me,
Yes.
I'll be tweeting out a lot of cool stuff from RTX, and yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody.
codes.
Take lots of pictures.
We'll see. We'll see.
Steal a
Have to pay me.
handful of Kali skins. Just like
Yeah.
I'll
big
smuggle them.
boxes. Just-
Yeah, see, KO, I've been the one with like a stack of 80 Kali codes. Now you will have 80 Kali codes.
Dude, my
Like,
pocket's
give me an
gonna be
Artemis one.
bulging.
You'll walk
They're
up to
like,
the
"What is that?"
stand and be like, "Hey, can I have one?" And then like someone will walk by like, "Hey, can I have 40?" And they'll just take 40. Like, "Can I have 42?"
and then they
They'll
give
give
you
it to
42.
you. Yeah.
And then you have,
good.
43. Math. All right, Pon, where can we find you at, of course? Your
You
regular
can
stream.
find me on Twitch and Twitter, and I will link all that stuff in the chat. My personal channel is Way. You can see me on Smite Pro every morning from 10 to 1 Eastern. And here's my Twitter.
Yay. Mesmerize, do you stream anywhere?
I stream on Denial TV, and my own personal channel sometimes, but Denial TV from 4 a.m. Eastern to 4 a.m. Eastern to 8 a.m. Eastern. And
You
I'll
stream
link all
with
that
the
stuff in the chat.
Yeah. Wagner, do you stream anywhere? No.
I used to stream on my channel. I might start streaming again if I can fix my frames, but
Ah,
I'll link that. And then I have a Twitter too.
cool. Pop it in the chat. Other than that, I'm Demon Machine. You can find everything that I do is that name below me. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, anything like that. Thank you all so very much. Don't forget to follow the channel before you leave because we will be back next week with all sorts of things. Oh, note, Beyond the River
back
Styx will
tomorrow,
not be on tomorrow. It's 4th of July. I'm going to be at the Peach Festival. We're going to move it to Friday. So
Okay.
it'll be Friday at 9 instead of Thursday
Yay,
at 9.
4th of July.
It'll be the second ever episode we've missed on Thursday.
I should do a drunk 4th of July stream.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
God.
please
I'm
do,
actually
please do.
I'm doing 4th of July actually like July 5th and 6th because everyone in my family is like working, and so we're gonna meet up at a later date.
Ah.
So I should totally do a drunken 4th of July stream.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. So, yep, basically catch us on Friday back here at 9 p.m. Eastern. It'll be fun. So thank you all for joining me. Gayo, you guys are free to go. I'm going to wrap this up and have fun.
All right, thanks, man.
No problem.
Thanks for having me
being
on. Later.
Deicide.
But speaking of Herc's Boulder, I managed